How about some Thursday morning SEC talk right here on Reier on YouTube? I'm Travis Reier, joined as always here on Second Helping by my longtime great friend, longtime college football analyst, Mr. Brent Beaird. Brent, of course, also a voter for the Heisman Trophy. And Brent, no shortage of topics this time of year
No.
because in the Southeastern Conference, collegiate athletics, you got college baseball cranking up, you got college softball cranking up, and of course, you're in that stretch run for the college basketball season. And also, spring football practice
Yes.
sprouting around the SEC and elsewhere.
Well, and there's also, and we'll be brief about it, but there are also certain committees that meet this time of year that they try to get work done within the NCAA, and there's some interesting things that might come out of that. So, Trav, you're right. It's a even though we're deep into February, it's a fascinating time of year.
Absolutely. And it doesn't get any more fascinating than it does right now for college basketball. And we'll start right there with
Mhm.
SEC hoops, a league that looks like it could be peaking at the right time.
Yes.
And when I say that, I'm talking about more from a national championship contender perspective, not just in terms of double digit teams that are going to eventually make the big dance. But just last night, you had Florida once again
Mhm.
just reasserting
Oh,
its place as the dominant team in SEC basketball once again this season. Down 3 at the half to Texas and Austin last night. And if I'm Texas, as well as the Longhorns had played in those first 20 minutes,
mhm.
I was probably discouraged to
Yeah,
only be up
really.
3. And then Florida, the inevitability, it seems like, of Todd Golden's teams these last couple of seasons, outscores the host Texas Longhorns by 16
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
second half to win rather easily in the end. Alabama trending in a good direction. I know you can say, well, look at the schedule of late. It's been South Carolina, it's been LSU. Last night it was Mississippi State, but they have handled their business in impressive fashion. I thought last night, especially because no LeBaron Philon out with injury, and they still
Mhm.
put 100 points,
Yeah,
22
yeah.
threes for Alabama. Did a good job on Josh Hubbard, the outstanding guard for Mississippi State. He had just 3 points in that loss for the Bulldogs last night. Arkansas with a big home win last night over Bucky McMillan and the Texas A&M Aggies. So, those 3 teams I kind of look at maybe more so right now. I thought, though, even in a loss, Georgia was impressive last
Yeah,
night
yeah.
at Vanderbilt. And it sets up, what about
Mhm.
this Saturday? Vandy at Kentucky, Alabama at Tennessee, and Arkansas at the University of Florida. That's a double header Saturday night on
Mhm.
ESPN, those final 2 games. Bama, Vols, Hogs, Gators.
Yeah, and hit on a little bit of what you said, as far as Florida is concerned, 21-3, run down the stretch.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Huge game, at home with Arkansas. ESPN Game Day in the house, Trav,
Yeah.
on
Should be.
Saturday morning. So that should be a lot of fun. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Bama playing much better as of late, and an area where they don't get much credit in. Of course, they don't play a lot. Is defense.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they played defense a lot better. Charles Bediako situation still is kind of out there. Waiting to kind of see where that goes at this point. But right now, SEC basketball standings: Florida 13-2, Alabama and Arkansas 11-4, Tennessee 10-5. So, Trav, to your point, boy, I'm not saying it will clear all of it up, but a lot of those teams we just mentioned play each other this week.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday is going to feel like semifinal day
Really?
in the SEC tournament,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you're talking about 4 of the top 4 or 5 teams in the league playing it out on Saturday. And for Alabama, it does get tougher. There's no doubt about that.
Hmm.
Go to Tennessee this Saturday. Georgia on the road midweek
Yeah.
won't be a walk in the park
No.
at Stegman Coliseum. And then you return home to take on an Auburn team that is playing for its NCAA tournament lives at this point in year one under Stephen Pearl. Right now, ESPN's Joe Lunardi has the SEC, Brent, as an 11 bid league. And we talk about trending. Auburn not trending in the right direction right now where that's concerned. I think Lunardi, maybe this is a little bit dated, but he had Auburn as a team that will miss the bye or miss the play-in if the tournament started now. Has Missouri as a last four in, but that was a big win for Missouri over Tennessee here in the last couple of days because Tennessee's been playing really good basketball.
Yeah, they really have. T.O. Barrett scored 28 points for Missouri. Missouri 15-2 at home. Mark Mitchell threw in 23. Dennis Gates has done a solid job, but Tennessee could not get stops, and that really hurt them in that game. Trevor, and another team I want to mention real quick, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Beating South Carolina. They shot better in the game. Denzel Aberdeen, 19 points, 5 rebounds. Kentucky had 18 offensive rebounds, the most in the league this year, which is amazing. So, but Trev, when you look at that Kentucky schedule, oh my, Vanderbilt Saturday, next week at A&M, and then ending the season in the SEC with Florida. Trev, how about that?
Yeah, you look at A&M of those three is the most inviting, but it's been a tough stretch here for Bucky McMillan in his first year as the head coach out there at College Station. Make no doubt about it. I think there's exciting times ahead with Bucky McMillan in that spot at A&M, but the schedule got real. The SEC schedule specifically got real on Texas A&M after that quick start, and it has been rough sledding as recent as last night out in Fayetteville. So what about from a number one seed perspective? It looks like right now it's Florida or bust. I don't see any other SEC team getting there. Now, things could happen maybe to get an Alabama up to a 2-3-ish if it plays, continues to play exceptional through the SEC tournament. I don't even think just through Auburn for Alabama that would be enough. They would have to go into the SEC tournament and make a real run there. But there is seeding in the SEC tournament that is very much up for grabs. But once again, Florida looking like that team as a top seed. Not a top seed right now in Joe Lunardi's bracketology, but with what's still out there for the Gators, I think it's doable.
Well, and at 13-2, they have just played extremely well. Trev, my question for you is, how impressed are you with Florida becoming the complete team right now? I mean, we know what the bigs can do. Alex Condon, 23 points, 4 rebounds, but Boogie Flan, 22 points. I think, and it's still been slow, but at the same time, I mean, Florida shot 60%, the 44 from three, which is significant for them, 8 of 18, because they've struggled from three. Man, live travel, if those guards, and again, you got to be who you are, but if those guards improve even a little bit of an uptick on their three, how tough will they be to beat?
Yeah, that's the key to the whole thing. I've said that before. It's going to continue to be the case. Flan, Lee, and this is what you paid these guys to come in and do.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are hired assassins, so to speak, shot makers, not just shot takers. So, if those two guys and some of the help they get off the bench too can knock down shots with that front court, sky's the limit. I still think Arizona, from what I've seen this season, is the best team in the country. They haven't had Koa Pete for a while now in the post, but they are so deep, it hasn't really mattered all that much. They dropped a couple of games here recently, but I think with Burries and Jaden Bradley in that backcourt, I think they've got a national championship caliber backcourt, and they've got the bigs that can go up against Florida eventually, go up against Michigan eventually, and those are the kind of teams that you figure right now, 3 of the 4, when we get to the Final Four, it would be hard to go against those 3 right now for me. So
and I tell you, Trav, the stat that really sticks out to me right now is Florida is only power conference team since 96, 97, and I think it's 5 now to win, or close to 5, 4 to 5 straight road games by almost 20 points a game. That's amazing, isn't it?
And that's usually what you see at the top of the standings when you
Yeah.
get to this time of year, right? Florida's dominance on the road.
Mhm.
You said it's 7-2 overall on the road this season. Alabama's been a good road team.
They have.
Now, Alabama hasn't necessarily beaten the best teams they faced on the road, but they've won 6 road games. They've taken care of the Oklahomas. They've taken care of the Mississippi States. They've taken care of the LSUs last weekend. So the teams that you're expected to beat, those are the ones you got to win on the road. Now,
Yeah.
Arkansas 4-4 on the road, Tennessee 4-5 after that loss out in Como. Hey, let's talk some football, Brent.
We can do that.
Last week here on the program, we started our series here in the offseason of finding football wins for the different teams around the Southeastern Conference. We started with the Alabama Crimson Tide this week. Kind of been a Florida theme on the program so far this morning. And by the way, if you'd like to chime in the live show chat, we do our very best to get to your comments, questions, whatever you might have to add to Second Helping on a Thursday morning as we are live here at 9:30 Eastern. Interesting, no doubt. And the Florida Gators start spring football practice next week.
Right.
The first run through spring drills under John Summerall. A little bit off topic here as we get into Florida for 2026. What do we know about spring football games, by the way, at this point? Usually at this point, it feels like we already had in the past the streaming and or television lineup for spring football games. But as we know, last year really put a dent in a tradition that a lot of SEC and college football fans truly love.
I think most of these games are going to be played because last year, about mid-April, was when the second portal opened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's only one portal open now, and it is come and gone. So for college football fans, I think that will help. As Travis said, Florida starts next Tuesday, March the 3rd. Their spring game is April the 11th. There's going to be a lot of spring games for the league on April the 18th. Now, if people are wondering about Easter is April the 5th. Mm-hmm. So Easter is not going to be a problem for SEC teams this year who are trying to avoid it to help their crowd. So just a snapshot for the Gators. Yes, starting early, but then that April 11th, the spring game. So it will be a fascinating spring in Gainesville, won't it, Trev?
It will. And John Summerall, obviously coming over from Tulane, he inherits Jaden Ball at the running back position. That's not a bad place to start. Couple of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, and Dallas Wilson and Burnell Brown the third. Jaden Woods on the defensive side of the ball. Have to replace those several key pieces, right? Brent, Jake Slaughter at the center position, Caleb Banks, Tyreek Sapp with 13 tackles for loss and 7 sacks in 2025. Both of those guys off of that defensive front. But Summerall brings in Buster Faulkner as his offensive coordinator from Georgia Tech. And Buster Faulkner brought some guys with him from Atlanta, didn't he? Aaron Philo at the quarterback position, Bailey Stockton at the wide receiver position, even some help from the tight end side of things with Luke Harpering coming down from Georgia Tech, and also the offensive line, I believe. He's brought in some help from the flats as well. So offensively, though, we know it's going to start behind center with DJ Lagway moving on. Brent, what's your expectation there for that quarterback competition with the Gators?
That's the thing. It's going to be fascinating to me to kind of see where that goes. Now, look, the thing that I want to mention about them as much as anything else, Trav, I think they'll be a lot more fundamentally sound, shall we say, in parts of the game, particularly the kicking game. I know people may roll their eyes at that, but
they're even going to have a special teams coordinator, right?
That's right. And listen, Florida could be at times an absolute disaster at special teams. So look, Trav, along with quarterbacks not throwing interceptions, if your special teams are cleaner, how much better could they be?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. They'll probably still have the special teams mat, but they'll actually have a coordinator, that
Yeah, right.
goes along with it down there in Gainesville. And absolutely, I think it still starts with Jaden Ball on
Yeah,
the
it
offensive side of
does.
the ball. A little bit
Agreed.
of a rework to do with that offensive line, starting with
Mhm.
Slaughter right there in the middle. But I think they feel like, they've answered that at least somewhat in terms of depth and competition. A couple of Penn State transfers coming in, a Stanford transfer coming in. We talked about the center position. Even at those skill positions, there's going to be familiarity though,
Mhm.
because of Stockton
Yeah.
and also even Eric Singleton coming in from Auburn because he worked at Georgia Tech
Mhm.
previous to going to Auburn last season. Singleton was a real playmaker for Tech in 2024. So going to be fascinating how they manage that whole quarterback deal, inheriting Tramel Jones to go along with the newcomer from Georgia Tech. And then defensively, as I talked about, a
Yeah.
lot to replace over there too. And it
Mhm.
starts up front with Banks and Sapp. Banks had an injury riddled 2025 campaign. I give him credit though. He tried. I
He
felt
did.
like anyway, it wasn't a shutdown
Mhm.
situation. It was a legitimate injury issues, and he tried to overcome that. But they've hit the portal up front as you would expect. Also in that secondary to try to help backfill for some attrition there. And you talked about it, not just in terms of commitment to special teams, commitment to specialists.
Yeah.
I think Florida in the portal went too deep
Mhm.
at kicker and punter. Like they went 2 and 2,
Yeah.
which you don't see a lot.
No.
They bring in a long snapper from Louisiana. So it's not just lip service special teams. It doesn't seem under John Summerall.
No, and that was a real weakness in the previous regime. But again, to back up a point that you made, I think what Jaden Baugh does. Listen, people may not realize Baugh is one of the better running backs in the league.
In the
Um,
country.
he
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
So, and Trev, if you've got questions at quarterback, how much better are you with a Baugh who can make up for a lot of issues when you've got young, inexperienced quarterbacks who need maybe even as much as a month just to be able to come around. If you can lean on that running game, I think that'd be humongous for Florida.
Well, and I think a part of Faulkner's offense is going to run the quarterback some.
Yeah.
Now, do I think these guys are going to be Haynes King under Buster Faulkner at Georgia
Yeah.
Tech? Probably not, because with King, that was some internal wiring that I
Yes.
think led to a lot of that. That's a
Mhm.
tough dude. But I think there will certainly be a part of that in the offense that you'll have to take into account. But no doubt, they also went to the portal for running backs. They
Yeah,
went and got
they
a
did.
6-year guy in Evan Pryor, previously of Cincinnati, who had been at Ohio State for a stint. He's been playing college football since 2021.
Yeah.
He averaged 6.9 yards per carry last
Mhm.
year at Cincinnati. A little different type of back to go
Mhm.
along with Ball. Ball's the every down guy. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it. But Pryor can come in and give you something a little different. They go to East Carolina for London Montgomery, who had been at Penn State for a season before moving on to Greenville, North Carolina. They've done some nice work in trying to help this quarterback situation. That's why I go back to the offensive line
Yes.
and how they're able to do that. They're going to be tight end oriented. They lost a couple of starting caliber tight ends, but they went to the portal to get Lakota
Mhm.
Dupree, who,
Mhm.
by the way, if Dupree sounds familiar, Brent, it's because he's the younger brother of CJ Dupree,
Huh.
the
Yeah.
tight end from Alabama
Right.
a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
Even went to New Haven University
Mhm.
to bring in a tight end. So there will be tight ends in this offense, which a lot of times tells me, yes, there is going to be a
Yeah.
legitimate commitment to running the football. This isn't going to be the fun and gun,
Yeah.
but there will be guys like Singleton, Vernell Brown, who are kind of the same guys
Mhm.
in terms of what
Mhm.
they bring. But they went to the portal to get Micah Mays of Wake Forest, who gives them some size at 6'2", 200. And then Wilson with his all-around ability. I like the skill setup potentially for this team. It's just going to be, once again, Phil Trotwine coming in as the offensive line coach
Yeah.
with that Penn State flavor and
Mhm.
what he can get that group to do in the first couple of 3 weeks of the season and beyond.
Well, look, and Travis, I'm curious what you hear about this. I just hear more confidence, frankly, from the fan base in that they feel this coaching staff has more confidence and has more expertise, and maybe won't be as stubborn as the Billy Napier regime was in some situations. But again, if they can get off to an early start and get some confidence, I've already seen possibility. I know some schools will laugh at this about well, Florida could win 7 or 8 games this year. Look, for them right now, that'd be a major improvement.
Yeah, the messaging starts with the deliverer.
Yes,
And John Summerall gives good press conference,
he
much
does.
better than Billy Napier did. From Napier's opening effort at the podium in Gainesville, I had Florida fans, Florida alumni, because of his ties to Alabama and working for Saban. And we never heard from him, when I covered Alabama. But it certainly invokes more confidence, I think, in terms of the guy that's doing the talking, and also understanding he's not calling plays for the offense either. So, you know what? If we're going to find some wins, right, Brent, we gotta look at that schedule. And so when I think about the 9 game, just as an overview of Florida and its schedule for 2026, when I think about the 9 game league schedule going into effect, Brent, in the Southeastern Conference, I think Florida's 2026 slate is more along the lines of what we're going to see from SEC teams moving forward. No Miami, no South Florida in the non-con this time around. I think Florida fans are happy about that, but you're still adding a 9th SEC game. So it's not like it's totally relieving itself of difficulty. Non-con for the Gators right out the gate. Florida Atlantic going to come up from Boca. You're going to have the Camels of Campbell coming down from North Carolina. And then you're going to have the requisite matchup with Florida State to cap the season. So that's your non-con right there. But again, when you factor in the 9 league games, that sort of tiering of the schedule is what I think we're going to see more of in the Southeastern Conference.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, even their questions, will Alabama play Ohio State in one of the more ballyhooed non-con game that's going on right now? Right now they are. Will that remain that way? But look, for the Gators to get 2 early games where they could gain a little bit of confidence, I think that would be absolutely humongous for them in order to do that. So, but look, I could see this team, Travis. And look, I don't think they'll win 9 or 10 games, but for them to make a solid improvement and win 7 or 8 and be stronger in November and December would be humongous for them.
The non-con is the really good news. We're counting W's for Florida in 2026 is concerned. In the league, though, Florida goes at Auburn, which I love that we're going to have Florida-Auburn back on our SEC football schedule. Florida then has Ole Miss at home with Trinidad Chambliss, we suspect, as of right now. Florida then goes to Missouri, South Carolina, in a year in which things look to be heating up for Shane Beamer, and that means typically his teams have played at their best. That's in Gainesville. Then go to Texas, Georgia, and Atlanta because of the stadium work being done in Jacksonville. OU with John Mateer back in Gainesville, at Kentucky, at a time in the season where maybe Will Stein in his first season has Kentucky. We'll see about injuries and roster attrition and, those things for a program like Kentucky when you get into November. And then you got Vandy in Gainesville before you go to Florida State. So again, the 9-game league schedule, there's a lot of enthusiasm initially when you look at this Florida schedule, but then when you get into that gauntlet, even at Auburn in week 3, and it's still Alex Golish who beat Florida in Gainesville last year with Byron Brown, who beat you in Gainesville a year ago. Now you got to go to Auburn and take on Golish and Brown. Talk about how you see this maybe playing out. Let's just go month to month. I think for Florida, really need to go. I think 3-1 minimum. You know, I think between Florida Atlantic, Campbell, 2 W's, but then at Auburn and Ole Miss and Gainesville, you got to split those two. I think
you do. Yeah. Well, I think right now, just because of where it is in the calendar, that they'd have a lot better chances to beat Auburn at this point. There's going to be a learning curve for Auburn, even though they will, Mercy, I think they will be better at this point. But beating Ole Miss right now would be extremely difficult. So no, I'm with you. September could be a mixed bag for them.
Get into October, I think that's where you're looking at 2-2 as being a serviceable result, because you get Mizzou on the road, South Carolina, at Texas, Georgia, and Atlanta. I know it's going to be a 50-50 split in Atlanta, but you're playing in Atlanta, and other than Alabama, Georgia typically has a lot of success there. So those 4 games in October, that to me, middle of the season, you get through there 2-2, and let's say you're 5-3 heading into November, when I think you have more of a chance to maybe make some hay. What do you think, Brent, about that 4-game run through Missouri on the road, South Carolina, at Texas, Georgia?
Well, I'm with you. At this point, it looks like 2-2 would be probably the best that they could do now. Now, again, Missouri's a little bit of a wild card, right? As far as all the people that they lost, but they've certainly been very competitive the last couple of years. People think even in the early going, Texas may win the league. I'd have to see that to believe it, to be honest with you. But no doubt with Arch there, they will be good. Your quarterback comes back at South Carolina, that's going to be a problem overall. But I think 2-2 would be probably a good month for them right now.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to go on record and say it right now if you're John Summerall, but I think between those 4 games, assuming you get South Carolina at home, and that might even be a big assumption.
It might.
0-4 is in play, I think, for Florida, but 2-2, I think you would sign up for right now. Then you get into November, and that's where I think there's potential. Again, so far out, who knows how things are going to play out from a buy-in perspective, a perspective of health, availability, because that was a big problem for Florida really the last couple of years in terms of injury issues for Billy Napier. But I think it's doable. That means you need to beat Oklahoma and Gainesville. You'd need to win on the road at Kentucky, and then beat Vandy at home, win on the road at Florida State.
I could listen. I'm with you. I mean, I could even see them having a pretty strong November. Frankly, with that, I mean, Florida. Look, Florida, Trev. By then, Florida State may have an interim coach. Frankly, with how things are looking there, and at this point too. So, if you're going to play Kentucky, don't you want to play Kentucky probably when attrition is taking effect in November, rather than I think Bama plays him like second or third game in September, when they should be at a strength. I think Kentucky will be better. I just don't think that they will have the roster yet that they will next year.
Yeah, a couple of ways to look at a team like Kentucky. Vanderbilt's been this way in the past too. Would you rather get them early, or would you rather get them late?
Yeah.
Because late, the roster a lot of times is impacted in a very negative fashion from 8, 9, 10 games, especially in a 9-game league scenario. But if you get them early in a coaching transition, maybe you catch them before everything really takes, like Will Stein would have liked it to be. So right now where I sit, with the Florida Gators here late February, and understanding once again, I reserve the right to sort of change this outlook, this perspective. Like I said with Alabama last week, I had Alabama at like 10 wins in February. And I feel like with Alabama, if I move off of 10 between now and September, it's going to be down to 9 wins. I'm not going more than 10 wins for Alabama. I can go ahead and tell you that. 10 is the max. So I'm going to go 7, 8-ish for Florida right now. And I think maybe with Florida, if anything, I might go up a half win or a win. But again, I think it plays out in months. I think September, October, November, the 3 segments of this schedule, I think the optimum is again, probably 9 wins. And also these home games. I mean, when you look at the layout of the home schedule for the Florida Gators, that's where they really need to take care of business if they're going to hit that high mark for wins.
And look, and you and I've said this for years, for first-year coaches in this league, Trav, there is a learning curve, isn't it? And what that means is somewhere along the line, you usually lose a game, maybe even 2, because you're not used to dealing with Southeastern Conference talent. That doesn't mean these guys can't coach, but what it means is when you move to the SEC, you're dealing with players that they've got attributes that some of these guys have not seen before. So that is in first year coaches, I actually would probably go down a win and include a loss that they may not even have in year 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think in year 1 for Summerall, it's about reasserting. It's Florida Field right now. It's not the Swamp. It's the Swamp when you go in there as an opponent with a sense of dread and a sense of we're not going to win. Whatever you say publicly in your heart. That's where it starts. Again, those home games, Florida Atlantic, Campbell at home, Ole Miss at home, South Carolina at home, Oklahoma, Gainesville, Vanderbilt, transitioning out of the Diego Pavia era at home. I mean, those are all very winnable games at Florida Field. And so you've got to take care of those. You know who's missing? You know who's missing from Florida's 2026 schedule, Brent? The Tennessee Vols. Think about that.
That's true.
Tennessee Vols on that schedule. Boy, that's going to take some getting used to. And you know what else is going to take getting used to for the Vols? No Joey Aguilar at the quarterback position. We got that news last week. Were you surprised, given the location of the judgment?
Yes,
that it was rejected. I got the sense that Tennessee people were at least a little bit surprised.
Yeah. Well, the reality of this is what Travis talking about is the whoever wanted an extra year usually got it until the last few months. Now, what we're seeing is an NCAA now that's got a lot more teeth. Now, Tennessee's they've got some good prospects in George McIntyre and Faison Brandon, but at the same time, I think everybody thought Joey Aguilar was coming back. And look, the reason, Aguilar, to his credit, frankly, coming from App State, played pretty well. I mean, he put up good numbers. Was he a great quarterback? But probably not. But the reality now, Tennessee will improve considerably defensively with the coaches they brought in. But look, that's what we're saying. We're seeing here now is we're seeing an NCAA that has frankly been ridiculed for what they've done and been run over in the courts. But Trav, what we're seeing in NCAA right now that frankly is fighting back a little bit.
Yeah, getting a couple W's. Got one with the Charles Bediako situation, at least to this point. We'll see what the Alabama Supreme Court has to say about it, I guess. But that was one. And then this Aguilar situation. I think where it hurts Tennessee is that even if he's back, no one's thinking Tennessee's going to win a national championship or an SEC championship. But he gives you a bridge year to face on Brandon instead of throwing Brandon straight out there, which could very well be the case.
Right.
As a freshman, very talented young player. And there's some benefit to going ahead and getting him going because it could result in some continuity for you at the quarterback position instead of these one-offs that it seems like Tennessee has continually found itself dealing with. But yeah, I think that, as you said, without Aguilar, it becomes more about McIntyre. I know they brought Staub in as a transfer from Colorado. That just feels like another guy to me. That doesn't feel like Aguilar last season,
right,
or last off season. So I'm inclined to think it's Brandon or McIntyre, and it is a running game offense first and foremost, and it better be without Aguilar, or at least early in the season until you get one of these young quarterbacks up and going and play with that defense that you expect to be improved, as you said.
Well, I think that's going to be the difference for them is I'm not saying they're going to win every game, but with this defensive staff, with Knowles coming in, who is at Ohio State and Penn State, I think the thought process there is, Trav, we've got a defense that can take us to the fourth quarter until these young guys learn to win games.
And that's going to be critical without that type of experience at the quarterback position. So we talk about that. And as we also talk Tennessee, I had to touch on the passing of Wes Rucker, a longtime media colleague, a longtime extensive coverage of Tennessee athletics. I love that about Wes too, who, if you hadn't heard, I'm sure you have at this point, passed away tragically late last week in Knoxville, Tennessee. Wes covered the hell out of Tennessee. It wasn't just football. It wasn't just basketball. And he really had an appreciation for all sports, which I truly respected, among many other things about Wes. Spent some time with Wes in the jobs that we were in. Did some podcasting like this with Wes. Did some collaborative content when Tennessee Alabama week would roll around, and Wes was just one of one. That's all I know to say. I echo what everyone else has said, though, not just in terms of his work, but when we would talk or we would interact via DM or text, we always talk families, always. And I knew what Wes had gone through personally in terms of his health. He had sustained a stroke several years back. I had overcome some physical challenges. So we had a bond in terms of even medications that we took. He dubbed us the Lyrica twins because we both took the same medication. What I loved about Wes at Tennessee Alabama games that we would both cover was that when I would look to my left or right, wherever Wes was sitting, up or down or behind me, whatever, he would be there 4 or 5 hours after games. And I was notorious for being that type of person. I always thought, it gave me anxiety at Bryant-Denny Stadium or Neyland or other places to kind of look around the press box and I'm it. Everybody's gone. But I would grind like that. Now, Wes had a better reason for it than I did because Wes would write a column that might be 3,000 or 4,000 words. Wes could write, man. He was prolific. I was more of a 500-word guy. I think I took some of that from Cecil Hurt, the late great columnist for the Tuscaloosa News, who we lost way too soon as well. I just admired Cecil's efficiency, his ability to put it all into a very vivid picture in a relatively short amount of words. But Wes was great at what he did. I mean, every style can work. Wes was a great combination of technically correct writing style. He followed closely AP style book. But the great thing about it was you could still hear Wes in what he wrote. He was an AP style guy, style book guy, but his voice still came across. As people may recall, was not, or still am not, very AP style book oriented. I'm more about the voice, but boy, Wes could bring it all together, unlike anyone ever knew, and just authentic is the word that comes to mind. Just like everyone else, incredibly saddened for his wife Lauren, his son Hank, their daughter that is on the way, and I believe May. Just a tragic set of circumstances. There has been, I like to believe, a very inspiring coming together of people across the college sports landscape and even beyond, with the GoFundMe that we've seen just do its thing. Been incredible to watch. At last check, I think it was closing in or right around $800,000.
Yeah, tremendous.
It's been raised for Lauren and Wes's family. So that's been very inspiring. And I would certainly encourage anyone out there, if you haven't already, check into that, the GoFundMe for Wes and Wes's family. And we're going to miss the guy because, again, this is an era in SEC athletics where we don't have a lot of characters anymore. It used to be the coaches we could count on, football coaches or basketball coaches for characters around the league. We don't really have that, but Wes helped fill that void among many other things, and we'll miss him dearly.
I met Wes, Trav. He was actually in Jacksonville for one of those Tennessee caravan things where the basketball and football coach came, and he was there. Look, Wes was different. Wasn't anything wrong with that, but he loved Tennessee. That came out in some of the stuff that he did. But I'm with you. I'm a lot more right now concerned about his family, what they're going through, the child being on the way, and it was just such tragedy that happened. But I am, a lot like you, very glad that people are motivated to help his family. And look, my concern and prayers for them right now is for his wife and what she's going through with grief, and also having a child on the way. I mean, within your family and mine, man, listen, Trav, it's enough to go through a pregnancy when everything's going well.
Incredible strength displayed here in the last day by Lauren, and also Wes's brother Grant was able to watch the stream of his memorial, his services up there in Knoxville, and just incredible strength by Grant, Wes's younger brother, and then Lauren to eulogize her husband the way she did was if that didn't hit you, you might need to check for a pulse. But it always gave me relief at 1 a.m. or 1:30 in that press box after a primetime third Saturday in October to look over and still see Wes. It meant if I was going to get locked in, I was going to have Wes with me. Now, Wes would have talked my ear off probably for the next 8 or 10 hours, but hey, I would right now gladly take that conversation and a whole lot more with Wes Rucker. Brent, anything else before we get out of here on a Tuesday?
No, that's about it. I'm the thing we'll get into next time is the committees are still doing their thing. We're still trying to figure out what to do with Army Navy. Do we keep them on the date that they're on, or are they going to have to be moved around a little bit? There's still talk about.
Kind of depends on what they want their role to be in the college football playoff, right? I mean, if they want to be a standalone, great event the second Saturday in December, I'm all for that. If they want to be a part of the college football playoff, it sounds like they're going to have to look at that Thanksgiving weekend kind of like everybody else, aren't they?
Well, and I tell you, Trav, if we go to I don't think we are immediately, but if we go to this 24 team playoff, at that point, you don't know who might be involved with a 9-3 or even an 8-4 to be able to do that. But that would be, listen, that would be ground shaking, would it not, Trev, to have Army Navy in the playoffs?
Yeah, it would. I'd love it because we get triple option football in the
Absolutely,
playoffs.
we
And
would.
that you want to talk about the potential for chaos. Bring some triple option football
Yeah,
into a
right.
playoff that
Agreed.
starts like a week after
Yeah,
the regular season. So it's not like you get 3 weeks to get ready for the triple
yeah,
option.
yeah.
You go from, say, Georgia's pro style attack
Mhm.
to the triple option. I'm down with it. Absolutely. Give
Man,
it to me. All right, Brent. It's been a lot of fun, man. I always appreciate you here on Second Helping. For those of you out there, if you haven't subscribed to Reier on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. A thumbs up, a like for the program would help us out tremendously as well. Brent, look forward to doing it again next week. I think we'll spotlight the Auburn Tigers
yes,
next week
yes.
when we're in our Finding Wins series we got going here. How's that sound?
I think that sounds good. Boy, I tell you what, with that new coaching staff that's come in, it's almost a brand new Auburn program. But they needed to change desperately, didn't they, Travis?
They did. And so we'll see. We'll talk Alex Golish. We'll talk Byron Brown. We'll talk the Auburn Tigers next week right here on Reier on YouTube, among other things. Obviously, going to be some college basketball talk as we get into the month of March, the madness, Brent. Buckle
That's
up.
right.
Looking forward to
Absolutely.
that as well. So for Brent Beaird, I'm Travis Reier. Thanks again for joining us right here on Second Helping on Reier on YouTube. Until next time, so long, everybody.